Here the words Yogam Astitaha are significant. The sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. As a result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfections. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved. After this, one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air, according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He at once created the palace, which is described in the following verses. So, Kardama Muni, to fulfill the desires of Devahuti, who was thinking of a suitable house for begetting a child, for sexually uniting, to fulfill the desire, Kardama Muni started using his mystic power. So here he has created an aerial mansion that could travel at his will, Kamaga. So this kind of aerial mansion is not even dreamt of by the scientific world. So you can imagine what is the level of progress of modern science with respect to material science itself. We all know that these are Ashtasiddhis, and these Ashtasiddhis are material siddhis. They are siddhis, they are powers within the material world to manipulate the material energy. Such powers are available for the souls, Ashtasiddhis. So as far as understanding the material nature is concerned, the so-called modern scientific advancement or technology is nowhere near what wonders we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Puranas. An aerial mansion that will go according to his will. Just see. People will say this must all be stories. No, behind it there is explanation how it is done. Man achieves perfection, a jiva can achieve perfection by yogic practices, and he can achieve Ashtasiddhis. And one of the siddhi is to create what he wants. Even can create a planet. Where does all these things stand in the face of bhakti, devotion to the Lord? Where does this stand in the scheme of the Lord for human beings? Elevation of their consciousness, these Ashtasiddhis. Even though these Ashtasiddhis are very easily achieved by one whose consciousness has become very pure, they do not desire such things. except if it is required in service of the Lord. So here Kardama Muni, when he has got full control over the material energy, he is desiring for this. That means he used his power of Ashtasiddhi to create this aerial mansion, aerial palace for Devahuti. He used his mystic power. And it is said here that this is not a wonderful thing for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of. It's not that he was flabbergasted or it was anything great. It was something which is. So this itself shows that when a pure devotee has these mystic powers, he does not value it much. Like Kardama Muni, what is so bewildering about it? For the service of the Lord he created, but he is not enamored by it, by the powers. So as we engage in devotional service, as our heart gets purified, the devotees also get a lot of power because of their devotional tapasya. They get a lot of power. Material power. But of course, Krishna is, in the case of a devotee who is doing devotional tapasya and getting power, the devotee submits to the Lord that whatever I do, whatever power I get, it is all your will. For what purpose? In other words, the result of the activities of the devotees, devotion service, is always offered to the Lord, and he knows that the Lord is in control of that. The Lord my Lord will dispose of whatever he gives to me. So that false sense of being powerful does not come in the mind of a devotee who is actually from the outside world. Somebody would say that this man is very powerful. So much money he's got, so much influence he's got, so much, all these things somebody will say. But as far as the devotee is concerned, who is enjoying or who is apparently enjoying all these things or owning all these things, he is simply detached from everything as belonging to Krishna and engaging everything and as a trustee. On behalf of Krishna, whatever I have to do, I will do. And this is very relevant for us in Krishna consciousness movement, because in Krishna consciousness movement we also have to preach Krishna consciousness, which means we deal with the material energy, and therefore we have to deal with material power, no doubt. If one is practicing bhakti on his own and there was no institution, he doesn't need anything, he can just chant Hare Krishna and he knows, everything he knows. As far as my body is concerned, there is nothing to desire, everything is destined. There is nothing to desire for oneself. That is a symptom of a devotee. A devotee means he has ended his desiring for himself. Based on simple knowledge that it is foolishness to desire anything material. Because as per the scriptures, as per the shastras, as per revealed knowledge, the human form of life, your gratification, your sense enjoyment is fixed. What sukha and dukkha you have to experience is fixed. This we have to have faith. From the birth to death. That means this body is gone. Birth, you get the body. That means in the bodily existence, period. What sukha and dukkha you have to get is already fixed. Those who do not have faith, they are thinking, if I run around more, I'll get more sukha. If I run around more, I'll decrease my dukkha. Both things cannot happen. People ask question, no, then if that is the case, then sukha, dukkha, I don't have to do anything. No, you have to do your duty. You cannot stop doing your duty. You have to do your duty. But don't run around for it. Don't over-endeavor for it. It's just like saying that you have money in the bank. Let's say you at the time of birth, some money is put in the bank. And it's an example to understand the principle. Okay, as long as you are in this body, now I put this much money for you. You can draw that. But you can draw that whenever you want. So therefore we have a feeling, an illusion is created that I can create sukha. You cannot create sukha. You are drawing the sukha which is destined to you, that's all. You can draw early if you want. And towards your old age, nothing will be there. Freedom, that means freedom will be there. But not full freedom. Some milestones are also marked. Along with the general currency, just like if you are given a FD, then FD you can break only after 5 years. So at the time of birth you are given currency also, and you are given different FDs. When you are 20 years old, you can draw this much. When you are 40 years old, you can draw this much. That's also there. And there is general currency also. Ultimately, everything is your earned money only. So that your earned money is sitting there. When you are taking birth, it is destined. So that's why the devotee, the scriptures say, why this facility is given in the human form? Because the human form is meant for achieving and endeavoring for something higher. In order to achieve that, you have to be peaceful. So don't worry about sukha and dukkha. Because in the scheme of things in this body, it is fixed. You don't worry about it. So struggle for sukha and dukkha has ended for a devotee. Bodily sukha and dukkha. Bodily power, social relational power, name, fame, all these things are fixed. How much you can draw. That's why in astrology you see different periods are there. Good period, bad period, dashas are there. That is why it said when you are taken birth, at a time, according to that birth time also, the Lord has created a mechanism by which you can get an indication of your, now it is dukkha period or sukha period, which is unwinding now overall. Or it will say that what kind of sukha, what kind of dukkha. According to planetary positions, you can say, okay, this planet, you will have an accident, you will have a bodily problem during this period. Or they'll say, you will have a problem with your mind during this period. So like that, different planets have different kinds of influences. So that is there, that's unfolded. It is a fact, it is astrology, it's a science. But it needs a great expertise, a sadhaka to actually practice astrology also. Any Vedic science to practice, whether it is Ayurveda or astrology, it requires, along with that, there is a spiritual practice required for that person. A person who is a Jyotisha, a person who is a Vaidya, he needs to have a sadhana also, because he is practicing a Vedic art. It is not simply, it is an art, all these things. It's an intuitive science. It's an intuitive science. Though mathematics is involved, though these things, but it is an intuitive science. Just like the doctors, they go everything as per data. But Ayurvedic doctors, good doctors, if you see, just see your face and he will tell what's your problem. By touching your nadi, he will tell everything. He'll start prescribing everything. So, one of the very fundamental lessons that should go very deep in us to become devotee is never worry about eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Never, never, never worry. It is destined. You don't have to work hard for it. The moment you work hard for it, you are creating a new karma. You're creating a new karma. If you do your duty in the course of your normal duty, just like money is there in the bank account, you have to write a check, then only it will come in your hand. That's called duty. So there are certain things which we have to do so that our own destined sukha dukkha we get. That is the reason why Krishna says this. One should be happy with pleasures that comes of its own accord. That comes of its own accord in the matter of doing your duty. You do your duty, then what comes of its own accord, you do it. Not that you work hard, you chase after a sense object, and then you will get. Krishna doesn't say that. If you do that, you are simply creating new karma. You will get again, you will get what you are destined only. So devotees have no material desires, but they engage in the desiring faculty is that of the soul, which we discussed yesterday. Is the faculty of the soul, desiring. And by desiring things, we create desires in our mind. We deposit desires in our mind. And those desires are utilized by Maya to get ourselves attached to sense objects, get ourselves attached to sense gratification in this material world, so she can keep us engaged. So desiring itself cannot be stopped. Desiring we can engage for lauding, or desiring we can engage for surrendering. So we have to engage our desiring faculty in surrendering. Just by saying, okay, I have no desire, then then you are like a Mayavadi. It will not work also. Then better you live like a Mayavadi. Because if you want to be a Mayavadi, then you have to be completely free from all sense influences and all those things. You have to neti, you have to come. You cannot have any activities. There is no meaning to activities. There is no meaning to devotional service. There is no meaning and nothing. According to Mayavada philosophy. But we have to engage our desires in, cannot become desireless, but to engage our desires in surrendering. So desire can be engaged for lauding or surrendering. Now what is desire for surrendering to whom? Desire for surrendering to the internal energy of the Lord. Desire to surrender to the servant of the servants of the Lord. Desire to surrender to Krishna. Surrender means first to surrender our abilities and then surrender our soul. Surrender our abilities means service. We are capable of acting, we are capable of thinking, feeling, willing. All our soul faculties should be offered in service of the Lord. And then the self itself, who is having all these faculties, is surrendered. So there is a process, just like in this material world, the living entity is continuously working hard to Lord more and Lord more and Lord more and Lord more. That is what constitutes this material world. And for the devotees also, it's a continuous activity in his life, which is to desire to surrender more, surrender more, surrender more. Varieties of surrender are there. Just like varieties of lording nature is there. Similarly, varieties of surrender is there. Not that, one-time surrender. That one-time surrender is the Atma Nivedanam. If it happens, it's a different matter. Continuously, dovetailing means it is surrendering to Krishna. The Lord is in our heart. He is a receiver of all surrender. And Maya is also all-pervading. She is a receiver of all lording. She is very pleased. If we lord, she is very pleased. Her job is that she has to run this material world. Suppose somebody is, you have to run a factory. And if employees go away, then it isn't a problem. Always want the employees to remain. So similarly, the living entities are always kept in the clutches of Maya in this material world. Come on, desire, 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 Lord, 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 Lord. And lording rasa is given by the material energy in a limited manner, in a teasing manner. Give little, then starve, then give little, then starve. In this way, make you go crazy. The living entity is packed with so many unsatiated desires in his mind. If you take Kardama Muni, he desired and there was no question of teasing. Nobody can tease him with desires. Oh, will I succeed in making an aerial mansion or not? Nothing. He desired, done, over. Completely. Whatever he created was a flat desire. Flat pleasure. No mental concoction and all. No need to concoct because he is in control of the material energy. Isn't it? When you desire something, when you don't get, then something, and then you hope for it, then slowly amplification happens. And then finally when you get, you cannot keep, without satisfying you for long, because then you will abandon it, abandon the desire. Right? Any desire you create, your intelligence starts working, whether it is any sensible, can I at least reach somewhere? Can I reach somewhere? Based on that, he will, on reasonable thing, he will start hoping for desire. And according to that hope, now Maya comes into picture. Sometimes she'll give. And then you say, okay, so it is real, it is possible, so I can hope. Then his hope increases, hope increases, hope increases. And that is how everybody's mind in the material world, they talk about, be hopeful, be hopeful, be hopeful. It's a big thing. Hope is everything, hope is everything. It's a fact. Within the structure, if you don't have hope, then you cannot enjoy amplified pleasure. So you want amplified, you want illusory pleasure, you want experience. hope something high and then get it. So just see how desiring, hoping, completely there is a different application for it, for a Vaishnava, than how it is applied by karmis. When they apply it, they are falling into the trap of Maya. And we are applying it, we are getting liberated from Maya. When you desire to serve Prabhupada, when you desire to serve Krishna, when you hope for services, hope to succeed in serving Krishna, hope to succeed in Prabhupada, serving Prabhupada, all these things will purify our desiring potency, hoping potency. Hoping faculty, desiring faculty will purify. And that is what Srila Prabhupada has taught us, to engage in practical devotion service. And when we use our desiring potency, hoping potency, all these things, when we use in service of Krishna, then our attention, our consciousness becomes very purified. It purified. Even though in this material body you are using the desiring capacity through this mind, that kind of desiring for Krishna will liberate us from the mind. Will liberate us from the mind. That's a wonderful phenomenon. You use the body, you use the mind, you use the intelligence to come out of the body, mind and intelligence through the process of Rishikesha Sevanam. You come out of it. We get liberated from this material concept of life. Our attention or our consciousness has to be purified with devotion service, desiring for Krishna, being determined for Krishna, hoping for Krishna, doing for Krishna. Knowing for Krishna. All the activities that we do in the material world, everything we have to do for Krishna. Because those things are all at the soul level. A dead body cannot have determination. A dead body cannot have desire. A dead body cannot have attention. A dead body cannot do anything. What does it show? Ultimately, doing is a faculty of the soul. Seeing is a faculty of the soul. All sensations are faculties of the soul. All that has to be engaged in the service of the Lord. The very easy process. What to do? We are not this body, but what we are stuck in this body. The question anybody will ask is, okay, then what to do? I am stuck in this body. No, you can use the body to get unstuck. You can use the mind to get unstuck from the mind. You can use your material intelligence to get unstuck from material intelligence. Any questions?
Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, in the last class, you had told that how a desire gets fueled. Desire gets fueled. Fueled by continuous thinking of it and contemplating on it. Desires, they get fueled and they get amplified in the mind. So at one point what happens, someone keeps desiring for something, it leads to a hankering because he is deprived, the desire is not getting fulfilled. And in today's class also you said about the same thing. So that what Maya does is Maya satisfies to a certain extent so that there is a hope.
Correct.
That this hope is like a post-dated check. So that desire is satisfied to a certain extent, saying that, okay, this hope will it'll happen, something like that.
Right.
No, that is to a certain extent not reducing, but maintaining this desire.
Not maintains. It amplifies. That is why, if Maya didn't give little now and then you will abandon it.
So the question was,
So
should one...
give little now and then. See, that amplification will work only on the principle of supply and demand. You study economics. So many graphs are there of supply and demand. All that will apply straight here in this application. These thick books are written on economics, on supply and demand. How the market forces move according to supply and demand. So anyway, the simple thing is, unless there is now and then there is a supply, that supply is what? That supply is flat desire. That supply is the desire that is incorporated by Paramatma in sense objects. There is a pleasure in this material world. But that is illusory pleasure, not illusion created by your mind. The amplified pleasure is illusion created by your mind. Whereas there is an actual objective pleasure in every sense, between sense and sense object. If you don't amplify this, between sense and the sense object, there is a pleasure. How can matter give pleasure is a question. If I keep a rasgulla on my tongue, it's giving pleasure. Is that quality of pleasure there in the rasgulla? If you take the entire system, every sense pleasure is given by the Lord because of the Lord's intervention in this material world. Matter, you cannot squeeze pleasure out of matter at all. Matter is matter. Soul, the spirit cannot get pleasure out of matter. So, that pleasure that is there, still pleasure is there in this material world. It is accepted. We admit this. We admit that you cannot get out of 100% out of pleasure, because if the sense and sense object meet, there will be pleasure. 100% you cannot get out of it. Your amplified part you can get out of it. But 100% you cannot get out of it, because this is Lord's creation. He has His scheme of things. He has kept these sense enjoyments everywhere in this material world. And Maya uses that. Pleasure amplifies it. She uses it. So it is Maya's weapon. Maya has to be given some weapon. If matter's own, some people, some philosophies say that these are all, it's in the material energy itself, pleasure, you don't need God. But the scriptures reveal, no, it's not that. The Lord is glancing because of the Lord's touch in matter. Because of His touch of matter. Therefore, there is this kind of spiritual experiences. Every taste is a spiritual experience. Every touch is a spiritual experience. Means not spiritual, it's a spirit experience. Only spirit can experience touch, taste, smell, all these things. Matter cannot. So how in matter you are experiencing these things? Sight, form, how you are experiencing in matter? Because of the matter being always in contact with the Lord. Therefore, these characteristics are designed like that. But it has got very, very limited thing. Some seeds these are all seeds. And Maya uses these seeds and she amplifies and we get stuck into this material world. So there is a teasing that happens. That's Maya. Teasing means demand and supply. That according to her own laws of those who are not trying to get out of Maya, she leaves it to law of karma. Those who are trying to get out of Maya, then she becomes very consciously active to tease the devotee. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. No, I had only, my question was whether that hope, like how do you say that? You said to abandon it. So when one abandons the hope, so at that moment, there is a little deprivation. So should one tolerate it, and should one or like fight with it And
when you abandon the hope?
The hope should be abandoned. There is no way of fulfilling that desire, you said.
Okay.
Abandoned. So at that moment there is deprivation for the mind. Now should the mind just be deprived as it is? And because there is no other pleasure in spiritual, say, when
when you are abandoning hope based on knowledge, then a lot of deprivation of the mind is already wiped out. Knowledge is very powerful. Perception is very powerful. So if you have to give up hope, you have used intelligence, you have gave up hope, then you have to go back to the desire, you have to give up the desire also. Because, as I told, this desire is deposited in the mind. You may not hope now. Hope you have stopped. But the desire is deposited in the mind. So that is what gives that pain. Because desire is there. So next you attack desire. You have to undo the desire. You can use desire to undesire. Desiring is so powerful. You can desire to create a desire in your mind, and you can desire to uncreate a desire in the mind also. So desiring is very powerful. So now you should start using desiring to undesire the unwanted desires in your mind. This is called desire management. If you know how to manage desiring, I'm not talking about. If you know how to manage, if you know management of your desiring potency, then you can manage your desires in your mind. That means you can replace your all unfavorable desires with favorable desires. And then you will be very enthusiastic in devotion service. Because if desire is not there, man is nothing, no? Isn't it? Desire is nothing. From desire only doing comes. If no desire, nothing. When devotees are unspirited, they don't want to do anything, that's because they have no desire. Desire is the cause of all suffering, so I should not desire. This is a lesson that is taught. Suppose this was a Mayavadi school of thought. The speaker would say this. We don't apply like that. We're very careful. Desiring, an abuse and misuse of desiring, we should not do. You are a beautiful spirit who has got a beautiful faculty called desiring. Now you should desire for Krishna. You should desire Krishna. And when our desiring faculty is directed towards Krishna, wanting Krishna, and that is completely fulfilling to the soul. Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.